Married people of Reddit, what's one thing you didn't learn about your spouse until after your wedding day? She makes PB&J sandwiches by mixing the PB&J in a separate bowl before spreading it on the bread. Pure savagery. Of all the responses in this thread, this is the one that made me say what the duck. I'm having a drink after work by myself and I audibly just said what to this. Like Jesus. Who does that? He dunks his Oreos in water instead of milk. I still don't know why. I thought the person who mixed the peanut butter and jelly together before spreading them on the bread was going to be the worst thing in this thread. But this is 100 times worse. A friend of mine eventually told his now wife that he didn't actually know French. He had been teaching her gibberish phrases. My name is Claude. Je du pli plou. He absolutely cannot be trusted with desserts in the house. Back when we were engaged, he'd give me time to eat my half of the ice cream or Oreo package or whatever we had on hand. Now, I'm sitting here eating Thin Mints from a stash from under frozen veggies in our outside freezer. I had to stop buying pint ice creams. My soul put away a pint of ice cream in one sitting. While I'm just like, that half-baked was supposed to last me all week. I discovered my wife is a hoarder and doesn't want to throw anything away. She's gotten better over the years, but it's still an issue. Hoarding has roots in anxiety. When my husband cleans, I get anxious. I used to almost panic when he would take out the trash for fear something we needed, like a bill or something, was in there. When I clean, I'm fine and can easily throw things away, but I definitely can see where it can start to develop if you let it. She is a bit of a genius when it comes to finances. No complaints. My wife is as well. If it were up to me, I would have lots of cool shit but no power because I'd be broke. She saves me from me. He'd never been to a funeral. It didn't come up until we had to attend one and he had questions. I've never been to one either. I'm 31. Dad passed and he was adamant about not having one. She procrastinates cleaning until the task becomes unnecessarily difficult. Which means she takes forever to clean. Which means she hates cleaning. Which makes her procrastinate. She also talks in her sleep. And that can be pretty funny sometimes. If my pants have 2 holes in them, why are 3 parts of me tired? Edit, yay. Gold. And silver. At first I was going to ask if we were secretly married, but I don't talk in my sleep. My husband and I dated for 3 years before we got married. After more than a year of marriage, he let slip that he is lactose intolerant. He knew that I absolutely love ice cream and we would frequently get ice cream on our dates. But he never wanted me to know about the lactose intolerance so that I could be happy with my ice cream. Put a duck in ring on the. Wait. Good job, never mind. Just how much she really loves Christmas. We lived together before we were married. And it wasn't that bad. But the moment we said I do, it changed. Now. She starts the Christmas train in ducking October. I'm talking the tree, garland and goddamn Michael Bubble. When I asked her about this, she said, oh, we're married now. So you have to like this too. Purely joking, but damn. Try September, my dude. From a guy who thinks Christmas should start like December the 23rd and finish the 26th, lol. She farts. She had always farted around me. No big deal. Usually she kept it to little toots unless she was sick or drunk, then it would be loud like mine. I don't mind its nature. But holy duck, she unleashed an ass trumpet that would put college marching bands to shame. She can be across the house and I can hear her as. My wife sounds like an 18-wheeler engine breaking down a mountain road. My petite little Jake break. That he would make a fantastic father. Wholesome AF. My husband loves telling this story. He is a big meat and potatoes guy. On our honeymoon, I told him that I was becoming vegetarian. It was something I'd been thinking about for a while and couldn't implement well while living with my parents. When we got back from vacation, we fell into a routine where I did all the cooking. Turns out that he is lazier about cooking than he likes eating meat. Also, It turns out I'm a pretty good vegetarian cook. He now eats vegetarian whenever we are at home. And gets meat at restaurants when he goes out with his friends. He's totally happy with it, truly. It has been 10 years. He's the best. If I had someone cooking for me every meal, I'd eat that. Simple as that. My wife cannot read an analog watch clock for time. Married 4 years. Been together 7 years total. And somehow that came up only a month ago when I asked for the time off a watch during a power outage. I don't give her a hard time about it. But that was a fun fact to learn. It took me a long time to learn that in elementary school, and I still have problems with it now. It's like my brain is empty as soon as I look at a watch, and it takes a few moments for me to be able to start counting what time it is. So weird. It's like these moments where you stare at a book page and you see the words but you're kinda not reading. My wife informed me that she could not have children after we got married. This made me sad. Being able to prove her wrong made me happy. I'm glad it sounds like the story has a happy ending, but it is super ducked up that your wife didn't tell you that till after the wedding. How insane his mother is. He was clear that they had a difficult relationship when he was growing up and that he is really close with his dad because of her behavior. Since we've been married, she's been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. And her health professionals say it's likely she has genetic degenerative neurology, Huntington's. Super personal question. But I have HD in the family as well. Do you have kids? Have you talked about genetic testing prior to having kids? It's a major topic of discussion in my family at the moment. I'm the only one without kids or stepkids. Half the family wants me to get knocked up immediately and the other half thinks it would be a criminal act because of the risk. My wife can't whistle. And she's never had a sloppy joe. Contrary to what my ex-wife said when we were dating. I learned she believed that sex was just for making kids. My mom found out my dad was a compulsive liar when his twin sister didn't show up to their wedding. When questioned about it, he said she must have imagined the dozens of stories he had told about his twin sister. He is an only child. What the actual duck? How did he not think that one would come up again? ? Not me. But my mom found out decades later my dad was married when he married her. So yeah. My dad's a bigamist. So was my great grandpa. Ancestry.com found us some serious dirt in our family life. Oh, and there was a shotgun wedding. Dude and chick got married. Her dad was the judge that signed the certificate and she had a kid 6 months later. She changed a whole lot after the wedding. From wanting kids to not. From hating her parents and the way they treated other people to siding with them. Her mom was a nurse who constantly talked about patients negatively, and her dad was an entitled business owner who tried to run people off the road constantly. Awful road rage. They both were the type of Christians that give the whole religion a bad name. She ended up remarrying one of my old college buddies shortly after the divorce. My wife is allergic to all artificial sweeteners. During the second night of our honeymoon, we decided to stay in and get some takeout. My beverage of choice at the time was Crystal Light Raspberry Ice, which contains aspartame. While we were eating, she wasn't thinking and she asked for a sip. About 5 minutes later she became extremely ill and started having issues breathing. After a few minutes she read the ingredients on my beverage and yelled at me I am allergic to aspartame. Me, being the loving new husband I am, yelled back, since when? You never told Demi that. She never bothered to tell me because she grew up in a household with no artificial sweeteners because she was allergic. Sounds like a great way to really start your honeymoon. Like when my parents did one of those private plane tours of the Grand Canyon as part of their honeymoon. And only after they landed again did my dad tell my mom he was afraid of heights. I'm happily divorced now, almost 12 years now that I do the math. But after we got married I learned that she viewed her money as her money and my money as our money. Which was interesting because before we got married my money was our money and she didn't have money to speak of. Not that I was even making good money. But after we got married she got a well-paying job and suddenly her money was hers and mine wasn't mine. It didn't last long after that. I learned just today that that's sort of how my dad and his ex, my little bro's mom, wound up separating. She would use up all her money to buy knickknacks and nostalgic toys and scene on TV tools, everything and anything she doesn't even use, and then use his money to buy more shit without telling him. I go over to her house every now and again and I've noticed she definitely hoards. But now I know how bad it has been. She's a great swimmer. One day, after we'd been married for about 7 years, we joined a gym with a swimming pool. She challenged me to a race. Okay. I thought. I'm a pretty good swimmer. I was surprised when she offered me a half-length head start, and then doubly surprised when despite my massive head start she beat me easily. Apparently she used to be a competition swimmer at school. She's basically half dolphin. But she'd never happened to mention it before. Didn't notice her fins? Been there. We were both on the same page in a newspaper. It was found a couple years after we were married. Was it the local arrests section? His addiction to cars. I never knew how much he really enjoyed until after we got married. Also his obsessions with speed and how he wants his cars to go faster and faster. I used to feel that way until I hit 145 miles per hour on a very empty straight Arizona highway and felt the front end of my car start lifting up off the ground as the front end seemed very light on traction. I have never gone very fast after that. I was completely cured of it. She owns Hanson's entire discography. He likes to eat fish. Somehow in our 6 years of dating, I got it into my head that he didn't like to eat seafood. My parents would cook dinner and invite him. And I'd constantly tell my mom, no. Can you make something else? He doesn't eat fish. My husband loves most seafood. With the singular, random exception of coconut shrimp. We joke about that to this day. That I unintentionally kept him from some of his favorite foods without so much as a conversation about it. That's a light-hearted answer. I'm sure there are many more. 11 years in and we are still learning things about one another. How much I love her. It keeps getting better. She liked to poop with the door open. Man. My wife is the opposite. I will be sitting down for less time than it takes to get the seat to stop feeling cold and she'll just walk in and start brushing her teeth like I'm invisible. I'm like, WTF? You used to knock? And she'll speak through frothy mouth toothpaste. Fat wapf before we were married, then spit out her toothpaste. And leave the door open when she leaves. That he plays video games. For 10-15 hours a day. Even when he married. And has kids. And has a full-time job. With marriage counseling he cut back to 5 hours a day. It's now, year 22, back up to about 7 hours a day on weekdays. I never knew marriage was going to be this lonely. I somewhat feel your pain. My GF and I have been in a relationship for about 6 months now and living together for 3. It feels like the only conversation we have is when she comes home from work to complain about her job and the idiots she works with. After that she just lays in bed and watches YouTube videos for hours. Any attempts at communicating doesn't result in actual conversation. Any attempts at affection, either sexual or non-sexual, are met with at best indifference or at worst her snapping at me because she doesn't feel like it. She never does. And she doesn't really help around the apartment anymore because of it either. I walk, feed, and give medication to her dog. I do the dishes, laundry, straightening up, and thorough cleaning. I just don't understand it. She then finds ways to somehow flip everything and make it my fault or make me seem like the one who doesn't do anything. She says she has to mother me and feels like we are just friends living together. I agree on the second one. But I think it's almost entirely her fault. If I had a way to move out I probably would tbh. I just can't stand being pushed away so constantly, especially physically. I told her at the beginning of the relationship that I'm a very physical person both sexually and in an emotional way. And she said she was the same way and happy I was too. Turns out that was all a lie. I'm sorry for your situation. Because I feel very lonely too. It's sad to live within such close proximity to someone and feel like you know nothing about them.